phenomenal. I think I sold 68 homes my first year. Won regional rookie of the year or state rookie of the year, district and regional rookie of the year for Keller Williams. My first year, and again, it was just one I didn't know how to tell. I didn't know what second place felt like, and I was never going to taste it. And then secondly, I was a I embraced the concept of Gary Keller said a long time ago, which was you need to learn so much the L falls off.
Welcome to the Real Estate Proverbs Podcast. I'm your host, Kevin Jefferson. Today, our guest is Mr. Emmett Carr. How you doing, brother?
I'm doing good, and you don't have to give me Mister, man. I sound like my dad or something. Make me feel extra old talking about Mister. It's just Emmett.
That's Emmett Carr. Emmett Carr.
Yeah.
Emmett, for those who don't know who you are, can you give us a little synopsis of who you are?
Oh man, that is one complicated question. Like to say first and foremost, Christian, father, husband, you know, friend, business entrepreneur, uh, and hopefully, guide for those that are looking to achieve some great things in life and business.
That's awesome, man. So how long have you been in real estate?
2004, end of 2004, I got my license in Denver, Colorado. And so was in Denver up until 2011. Then I relocated here to Atlanta.
Okay. What were you doing prior to real estate?
Actually, I worked, I was a global implementation manager for tech companies, right? So, your Dells, your Microsofts, HPs, I'm going to date myself, AOL, CompuServe, all them joints, right? I was actually the global implementation manager. So I would go to different cities, implement a tech solution to support their products and things like that. So I would hire, train, manage the call center reps and the tech reps and things like that. And I did that for 10 or 11 years, traveling all around the world doing that, man. And I loved it. It was fun because right out of college, I got to see the world, got to see crazy stuff. And then one day, man, it just hit me that, my little girl who, had been born at that time was, going on 10 years old. And I had like a handful of experiences that I could recant. And that just wasn't the kind of dad, that wasn't the kind of pops I wanted to be known as. So I had to get out of that move and get into something where I'd be home and around her more often.
Awesome, man. I commend you on that for sure. Recognizing that at an early stage too.
Well, I keep it real, man. I did not recognize that she put it on Front Street for me one day when I was, talking with her about it was Christmas and I had all these presents. The tree was set up, everything was all love, and she's asked me why I work so much, and I was like, so I can give you everything I didn't have, right? All these presents, all this big nice house. This was all for you. This don't come free. And she's like, Daddy, all I wanted was you. I was like, dang.
Wow.
Okay.
Wow. So I know you to be very systems oriented, especially with your schedule. And did that come after the conversation with your daughter, or did you already have that in place?
I already had that in place. My stepdad just the way I was raised and just my personality is such that I crave routine. And so I also read a lot of Jim Rohn, Tony Robbins and Eric Thomas, the success gurus, right? And we're the product of our habits. So the systems and stuff like that that you see were painfully implemented to get my behaviors to become habits. Those habits would lead to certain levels of success that I wanted to experience in my life. So it was painful, man. I mean, some of the stuff that I do, like my stepdad, he had us getting up at 4 a.m. So getting up at 4 a.m. every day as a kid, 5 a.m. And my mom used to work 3 jobs. So she used to be off to work at 5:30. So if I wanted to see her before she headed out, I had to get up early. So it's a product of, years and years and years of that. And it's just served me well. So I keep adding to it, habit stacking.
Got you. In terms of how did you get into real estate?
Well, like I said, I had that conversation with my daughter, and I was working for a tech firm at that point, and it was during the tech boom. So I got all these stock options and all the other stuff, and I went into the corporate office, and I was like, "Hey, I'm done. you guys can buy me out, or I'll just sell my options off, whatever it is. And so they ended up buying me out of mine. And I got this lump sum of money. And I was sitting on that for probably 3 or 4 days. I'd say like it's a long time, 3 or 4 days. And I was trying to figure out what I wanted to do because I didn't want to use any of that money. Right. And so we had just closed on our house probably 6 months before. So I went to a career center, and they gave me this test to see what I would be good at because I had no clue. And they were like, okay, a marketing exec, real estate agent. And they started naming all. I was like, after the first two, you could just shut up. I don't need to hear about nothing past the first two because everything else would be a stretch for me in my head. And they told me in order to be a good advertising exec, things like that, I needed to live on one of the two coasts, California or New York. And I wasn't going to leave Denver, so real estate agent became number one. So I called up my real estate agent, asked her if I could shadow her, and keeping it real, I was kind of a jerk about it because I was like, I went out and shadowed her, and I was like, "Yo, how much did you make last year?" And she told me, and I was like, in my head, I didn't say this out loud. I was like, "Dang it, you suck. I'm finna kill it. If you made that much money and you're garbage, like you don't care about your clients, it's all about a paycheck. Like you don't care enough to be making that kind of money doing this. And so I'm finna kill it." And that was on like Tuesday. By Thursday, I was in real estate school.
Wow. So your perception of what a real estate agent should do prior to you getting into business and you getting into it, how different was it?
Well, like I said, I did something that very few people do is I went out and shadowed. Like I wanted to see what the nitty gritty was, what it was really going to take, and make sure that I was willing to pay the cost to get into that space and be successful. Because I wasn't trying to be at her level. I was trying to have her come back and work for me one day. I wasn't trying to be at that level. So I knew whatever she showed me, I had to 10x that. That was my mindset.
Got you.
So I say all that to say that I had a really good vantage point of what real estate was before I got in. And Diana Kokoska, who was over, really big out in Denver and was over MAPS coaching at Keller Williams, the president of coaching, she recruited me right out of real estate school. And one day when we were talking, she kept it real. She's like, everything you're learning in real estate school is just to pass the test. Don't take it to heart and don't bring it into my business.
Wow. Wow. That's interesting. Speaking of that, do you think there should be more practical real estate taught in those pre-licensing courses to give people a real idea of what they're going to have to do once they get into the business? Because like you said, all the stuff that you learn, somebody else does. Like if you're not in property management, you don't learn property management.
Yeah,
The
yeah.
way stuff is titled, you don't do any of that. That's the attorney's office.
I think it could be hugely beneficial. They would have to lengthen the classes though, right? Because you still
Right.
have all the legal T's and C's that you got to cover and embrace and the stuff like that. I think they could lessen a lot of the financial stuff because the title company and the lawyers and all the other stuff are working those numbers, and the lenders like you are
Right.
working those things. And all we're doing is messing it up when we stick our nose and stuff we don't really understand to the right level, right? I tell my clients I know enough to be dangerous, and you don't want that in your life. So call this lender or call this person, right? I'll help you review it and walk through it, but I surround myself with professionals for a reason.
Right. So 2004, you're in the real estate business. How'd your first year go?
Phenomenal. I think I sold 68 homes my first year. Won regional rookie of the year or state rookie of the year, district and regional rookie of the year for Keller Williams. My first year, and again, it was just one I didn't know how to tell. I didn't know what second place felt like, and I was never going to taste it. And then secondly, I was a I embraced the concept of Gary Keller said a long time ago, which was you need to learn so much the L falls off.
Wow. Got you. Got you. Got you. Got you. And from there, what would you, going into your second year, if you can remember, going into your second year, what were some things that you tweaked to change from your first year? Because I'm sure you grew at that point.
Yeah. So by my second year, Diana had asked me to kind of start grooming me to take over the team. And so it was learning more about just it was more about expanding beyond just scripts, dialogue, and having this like hellish schedule because I would prospect like a madman. Like I was, 8 a.m. I was on the phones and I didn't get off until I set an appointment, right? To learning how to interact with the team, how to lead the team through influence. Because just because you're running a team, that's a title. But if you don't have people that will follow, you don't have the influence of those people, you can't do nothing. So it was learning how to have influence over the rest of the team and lead them. A lot of the stuff that she had me working on. And her husband, Tony DeCello, who was my coach at that time, taught me what real accountability was, like on some whole different level stuff.
Wow.
Like I'll give
So,
an example real quick. He had me write 1,000, 500 or 1,000, I can't remember exactly, but it was a big number that I didn't have in my account, checks. And we set my goals, right? And if I didn't hit a goal, one of those checks got cashed. All right. No questions asked. Didn't matter the reason. If I didn't hit that goal, that check got cashed. And I did not have that money in my account for all them checks to be cashing. So I'm hustling hard. And he said something. He's like, you only got to worry about it if you don't intend on hitting your goals.
wow. So, what did you ever ask them what they saw in you to give you that? Because sometimes that first year can be a fluke in terms of your production. What do you ever ask them? Hey, what did you guys see in me to give me that leadership position?
Yeah, I did. And the reason I asked them is because the team leader for that market center had approached Diana because I had interviewed with him about joining. Actually, I interviewed with 7 different real estate firms, and every single one of them kept telling me some BS that I was only going to make 50,000 my first year. And I was like, I'm not coming from making a quarter of a million dollars a year as my base salary to $50,000 a year. That's not happening. And Diana was the only one that was like, through a series of questions, if you only made 200,000, but you did it and worked half the year, would you be okay with that? And I was like, no, I told you what I got to make. And, it's a minimum of 250,000 minimum, or I'm not doing this. And she's like, okay, if I can show you what to do, if I can show you how to get to $250,000 plus, will you do what I say when I say no questions asked? Absolutely. I'll do it. She's like, great, show up at my house tomorrow at 4 a.m. So fast forward, Dennis, the market center administrator or team leader, told Diana that I wouldn't make it, that she shouldn't hire me. Like this was a waste of her time because I was a DC personality type, which means that I'm a driver. I want shit or stuff done now, and I want it perfect. Right. So civil. And he didn't think that I would be successful. So I asked her that question that you long-winded answers. I asked her that question, why did you take the risk on me when Dennis, who does all of your recruiting and does all this identification of talent, and that's his specialty, he told you not to. Why did you take the risk? She said, you grew up disadvantaged, so you had a bit of a chip on your shoulder, and you had grit and tenacity. And with those 3 things, I can make anybody a winner.
Wow. Wow. So, have you had a year where you earned under 250?
Yeah, I did. And it was, to be honest with you, it was a year I built my biggest team. I had
Okay.
like 19 agents on my team, and all the awards and accolades and all that other stuff was coming in. And I made less than I did as a single agent because you're spending so much to stay on par with that image and that likeness and stuff that's out there. And so I had to reel all that back and start building my business more incrementally based on the right principles and foundations rather than chasing awards and stardom, right? And I think that year, I say that I made 243. I never, ever, ever forget that. Because I netted 243. Sorry. I didn't make 243. I netted 243. And that's what
Net,
when I say make, I mean like your net, right?
net, got you.
Well, coming out of corporate America, it was gross. And then after I got smart and realized it's not what you make, it's what you keep, then the net number became way more important.
Gosh. So tell, walk us through um, your day in terms of from once you get into your office or hit the office, what's that look like?
Well, I want to go a little bit before that because I also believe that all the success in the world doesn't mean jack if you're not taking care of your health,
Right.
right? You mean so I get up at 5 a.m. and I'm in the gym by 5:30, and I do an hour workout 3 days a week. It's weights. 3 days a week it's just cardio conditioning, and each of those sessions is capped off by stretching and mobility. Because I see my grandparents, my great and you know the great aunts and uncles, and they barely moving, and I don't want to be in that space. And so that preps my mind, and I do the miracle morning right when I wake up, right? So journaling, meditation, scripture, and stuff like that, and that preps my mind and my body, the two pillars, to get into the office and hit it at a high level. So when I get into the office, I do my morning huddle with my team, and then we do some scripts and dialogue and kind of practice, role playing calls and things like that to our sphere, to our leads and stuff like that. Then we jump on the phones, man. We're on the phones from 9 to 11. Most days, some days it's 10:30. I'm not even gonna lie to you. We don't always hit 11. And then, take a break, do some follow-up calls, things like that. By the afternoon, 1, 2 o'clock, you want to do your administrative or your appointment confirmations, for that evening. Then we go on appointments, usually from 3 to 5:30, 6 p.m. 7 o'clock at night, I'll log in and do my wrap up administrative stuff. Anything that my admin or the backstage team tells me that needs my attention. And then I do what's called a cash out at 8, where I take inventory of my successes for the day and my challenges, or where I didn't necessarily show up the way I wanted to show up, write those down and what I'll do differently for the next day, and then call it a night. And then it's daddy time. And once I flip my phone over and it's daddy time, I don't do any more business unless we're in the middle of a contract negotiation up against a deadline or whatever it is. But I also put the quality of life clause in all my contracts where the cutoff is 8 p.m. instead of midnight. Like, we got to have this stuff wrapped up by 8 p.m. because I also need to be dad. So
Right. And that takes a lot of discipline, especially in our industry, because I know a lot of times agents want to call you whenever, just
yeah, yeah.
because they don't have a time schedule.
Do you find that they do that because you don't set the expectation, or we fail? Because I've done it too. The expectation of what your availability looks like and when you're working. And here's the deal: a lack of planning on their part doesn't necessitate an emergency on yours, right? It
Right.
just doesn't. Um, and Gary Keller also said something. This is weird. I quote Gary Keller so much, and I'm not Keller Williams anymore. Um, but or was it Sean Rawls? One of those two great minds said that being able to bragging that you're a 24/7 agent or lender isn't a badge of honor. Because what that says is that you're willing to sacrifice your friends, sacrifice your family, sacrifice your obligations outside of real estate for real estate. And how you are out there is how you'll be in here. So if you'll sacrifice there, you're going to sacrifice in here as well. It'll just show up differently. So having boundaries in both spaces of your life is super important, and being 100% present in both aspects of your life is extremely important.
Right. When I first started, I used to do the same thing. You know, answer whenever, take application whenever. And then when I started as a lender, my sons were 5 and 1. So all of a sudden they were 6 and 2. And I I
Yeah,
couldn't remember, like you said,
yeah,
any real things that happened. You see what I'm
yep,
saying? So
yep.
like they were in aftercare. If aftercare closed at 6, I was there at 5:59.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And then I got them home, and then I went back to my desk and started working. So putting
Now,
those bound
how did you deal with that, man? Because here's the deal. as African American men, we get a bad rap for in the fatherhood space to begin with. And so you gotta, and I didn't grow up with my biological dad, so wanting to be bigger, better than he ever, showed up in my life, or even in my steps, or anything like that, was hugely important to me. And from our conversations, you just seem like one of those guys that you take the badge of fatherhood seriously, as I do. So, when did that hit you, and how did that change your mind around it?
I had to, I thought about it. There's nothing I can do after 6 o'clock, really,
Yeah.
to get you an answer. Attorneys closed and my management's gone. My back
Yeah.
team support's gone.
Yeah.
There's really nothing I can do. Now, in some cases, I try to cut off at like 5:30, 6 o'clock. And if I have a client that works like a weird shift or maybe a nurse, I'll take a call around 8. But that's because my boys are headed to bed or they're getting their
Yeah.
showers.
Yeah.
In those cases, yes. But I had to set boundaries and I lost some agents because they feel as if though I should be available when they call, but you won't pick up when I see pictures of you on vacation and I need to talk to you about a client. So
Hey.
that's in the sense, like I had to put it down. And when I got to that point, Emmett, I started to earn more money.
Yes. Yes. Because it's past busy work, it's to effective work, right? And if
Right.
I spend 6 hours doing busy work, or 5 hours doing busy work, and 3 hours doing effective work, versus 6 hours of intentional effective work, I'm always going to make more money doing that.
Right. And you are. It, my I learned a lot during COVID.
Yeah,
A whole
we all
lot.
did.
I learned a whole lot. I was taking care of my grandmother. I had my two sons at home because my wife works outside of the house and she had to be into her job. So at that same time, I was busier than I had ever been. Um, More productive because I actually had a lot going on. So I learned to block out times because my youngest son was in my office or my room with me because he was 5 in kindergarten. So I couldn't expect him to stay on task. But at the same time, while we're doing Zoom calls, I couldn't be on the phone talking while his teacher's talking because I'm not going to hear my clients and he's not going to hear his teacher. So I learned to set times for appointments based around his schedule and his lunch. And once they went back to school, I kept that schedule of, okay, I'm setting all appointments and that's what it is. So I treat it as a doctor's office. Hey, can I
Mm-hmm.
call you tomorrow at, I'll give you a client call. Hey, I'll give you a call tomorrow. What time would you like to speak? This is the time frames that I have. Give me 3 times that work for you so I can get it on my calendar. Because if you call me willy nilly, I may not pick up. And they don't understand that it's probably because I'm on with someone else. It's not because I'm ducking your call. So then the first call they'll have is, hey, I reached out to the lender, but he didn't pick up. And then the realtor's texting me and calling me. So if I don't set those expectations with both clients and customers, with the realtor's my client, the borrower's my customer, then it doesn't work for a successful business, because they think they don't understand. Like I had a lady, we were talking about a deal and it didn't go the way that she thought it should go.
Uh-huh.
And I asked her, hey, and it was a legitimate situation. I said, me and my wife just looked at flights. The flight increased by $200 over a week. Can you reduce that price? That's not the way our industry works. Aha. That's the same as
Yes.
ours. Like, I understand that there's certain things you have to go by, and there's certain things that we have to go by. So I like to set my expectations up like a doctor's office. When I go to the doctor, I see my doctor for like 15 minutes, if that. I talk to the nurses and the CNAs and the techs more than I talk to the doctor. And that's because a lot of stuff that they need can be done up front with my team. That's why I put my team in place. And then
Yep.
on the back end, I get into the nitty gritty of the numbers and the rates and stuff. I find that to be more effective for me and my time. And like I said, I see a huge earning because before I was just busy. I thought I was working, but I wasn't working. I was just busy.
Well, even beyond the well, I think they're related, right? It's not just the earnings, because I think that when you set the system up the right way, the clients get a better experience,
Experience.
and not only a better experience, they probably enjoy. I mean, that better experience leads to more enjoyment, and that's great for everyone. If you're just having people, like when we refer over to the lenders and stuff like that, we tell our clients they'll respond to you within 4 business hours. If I refer you over at 7 o'clock at night, they're not calling you till the next day. Now, if we're about to write an offer, that's a whole different thing. I might text you and say, hey, sorry for the lateness. This is the exception, not the rule. This is not how I do business, right? Can you
Right.
can you jump on this for me? And I appreciate it when they do. But at the end of the day, I have to respect their life and expect them to get recharged so they can show up great in my business the next time.
Right. Yep.
Lender,
And
title, closing attorney, whatever it is.
yep. And that it makes a lot of sense. You know, attorneys' offices, like I had a different perception. I thought at 5 o'clock they were all gone. They just don't answer the phone, because I
Yeah,
was trying to figure out, I was like, how are they getting all this stuff done if they leave right at 5? And then I had one lady say, Kevin, sometimes I don't leave till 7. I just don't pick up because we're closed and I can get more work done when I don't have to answer the phone.
yep.
Yeah. But so your team does a lot of prospecting early in the morning. Is that
It's a
because
mix. We got
the
some
mix?
guys that come in early in the morning. Some of them are afternoon, late night guys, so they'll come in, 5 or 6 and do theirs in the evening. So it's not hard and fast. It's just whatever matches your personality type.
Got you. How many people do you have on your team?
5.
5. Okay.
Yeah. But we're and we've been growing intentionally slow because we want the right fit personality types, because there's a lot of cancerous folks out there that are just, in negative news all the time, victim mode and stuff like that. So you want to be around the right people. And for us, that's people that want to work hard, they want to have fun. We have a model, sweep floors. They're willing to, do whatever it takes to exceed their client's expectation, and they have a servant heart. So they're willing to get out into the community and do work, right? We volunteer at Brumby's Food Bank and with the YMCA, Habitat for Humanity, things like that. And if you're not willing to do those things, we probably don't have a lot in common.
Wow. That says a lot about the way you want to set your culture.
Yeah.
Yeah. With
And you gotta have a big why. Like if you're just working just for the fun of it, our grind will make you sick. Our grind will make you hate us.
you don't make them go to the gym with you at 5:30, do you?
You know what? Keeping it real, because I didn't want to build a team again. I'll be honest, I did not want to build a team again. And Chris, the first guy that came aboard, he hit me up on Facebook, I believe, would DM me about wanting to sit down and talk with me. I was like, yo, you want to talk with me? You're talking with me on my schedule. Meet me at Lifetime Fitness at 4:30 a.m. I'm thinking there's no way in hell he's showing up. There's just good. I avoided that one. It's all he showed up. Not only did he
Wow.
show up, but he hung with me the whole day while I did showings and met with clients and interacted with me and things like that. Um, and I was like, okay, this guy's got grit. He's serious about it. And he was kind of like one of the first people that I linked up with when I decided I was going to try, go for the team again.
Wow. That's awesome, man. So how's he doing?
Great, man. It took him a while to hit his stride. Just because, he's like all of us. We get in our own way, and we create reasons why it's harder than it is, because if it was easy and we just didn't do it, then it's us, right?
Right.
So not a lot of us want to own that. And so it took me a little bit longer than I probably would have liked, but then again, I want success yesterday. um But now the guy's killing it, man. I mean, he's on fire. He's, three, four, five, six closings a month. He's on it. So
That's awesome. With your with your system that you put in place years ago, is that what you work with your agents on now, or do you allow for them to build a system that kind of works for them?
it's a combination, right? Um, so we're going to show you the pathway to success, like the one that's proven and repeatable.
Right.
How you approach each of those stages could be, molded and shaped a little bit differently to fit your personality, your time schedule, and things like that. Absolutely. It's customizable to that degree. If you need to deviate too far, though, this probably isn't the system for you. You should go find a system that is proven and repeatable, that's more in alignment with who you are and your personality, not trying to change anybody. This either works for you or it doesn't, and we're still friends. We can have beers, hang out, do whatever you want. But I don't want the people that are committed to the system being influenced or derailed trying to help someone that we know nothing about the system they're trying to implement.
Gotcha. With the change in the market that we currently have, um, are you guys doing more prospecting, or you're just staying consistent with your prospecting and working on scripts more?
Both. We're definitely amping up our contacts because that's just the nature of it. I've been through two, three market shifts already. And I know for a fact that if you keep your head down and keep doing what you're doing, keep get back to the basics and just focus on doing those day in and day out, you will come out on the other side of this market way better because there's going to be so many that don't make it. You're going to be able to inherit that business and things like that. And the truth, and I always said this on another podcast, is that the last few years of real estate have been a popularity contest, right? Whoever could be the most visual on social media and put all this stuff out there just got business thrown to them, right? They didn't have to know how to do it well. They didn't have to, be committed to a certain level of service or client experience. We're getting back to a market where skills matter. And those people that are willing to go above and beyond, that are willing to put their clients first and do the right thing 100% of the time, are going to crush it. They're going to have amazing careers. And the people that were just riding the popularity wave are probably not going to be around. Now there's some, don't get me wrong, there are some out there that got hugely popular because of their service and the stuff that Ken Posaks and stuff like that, who is a friend of mine. He's just phenomenal and he's ungodly popular, but he cares about his craft and has learned it. So I say that to say that the market matters in that you should take it into consideration, but it will only affect your income, your performance, and your life if you deviate from what you know works and doubling down on that.
Gotcha. What would you say is your most effective marketing?
Our sphere of influence, the people that know, like, and trust us already, staying in relationship and deepening the relationships with those guys, because there's a lot of news out there, good and bad, and it's hard for them to know what is what. So staying in the flow of their lives and keeping them informed is definitely probably and it's the most profitable as well as the most consistent pillar in our business.
When you say deepening those relationships, give me an example.
Like there might be someone I meet that was a referral, right? And we are just meeting for the first time, and focusing on you know what's their goals, what's their ambition, what's their timeline, how do we deliver on that, and then how do we go above and beyond that, and then staying in a relationship with them where you're staying in contact, helping them with stuff that doesn't even really apply to the transaction, contractors or just anything that they might need, that you show them that this was more than a transaction for us. You're part of the iconic family now. You can't get out of it. You can't get away from us. We love you and we're going to hug on you. So it's about that relationship.
How often are you touching those people outside of them calling you for the number to electrician or hey, I need my HUD sheet?
pretty often, man. Like we try to touch on them every 30 days at a very minimum. And that's face to face or a text or some kind of direct contact. That doesn't include emails or newsletters or postcards or any of those things. And then we have events, where we do two big events, the movie and then the pies, and then we do micro events where it's more of a specialized invite only group where, we might be, hatchets and tequila for the fellas, right? So all the fellas meet up and we're going to throw hatchets and do tequila tasting. Or, the movie night for the women where they go out and as though they're having a girls' night, come in their pajamas and go to a private screening movie event and bring all the stuff that they like, ice cream, popcorn, and all the stuff that they would have at just a girls' night. And it's real intimate kind of a setting on those. So
Okay. And aside from seeing them at an event, when you say you're touching them, is it
lunches,
mailers, emails?
all of that, lunches, emails, phone calls, texts. Hell, we got a workout group. Some of them come work out with us, so
Wow. Wow. And with your team, how have you seen them grow using your system from when they first started? Like, first of all, do you coach your team? Because I know
every single one of them.
every single one.
I'm as invested in their success as they are, right? I'll show up as much as they show up. If you're committed to your goals and you're doing what you need to do, I'm right there alongside of you. If you sell me some BS and you talk a good game but you ain't showing up, I'm not gonna want your goal more than you do.
Gotcha.
But one clarification, and you said something I wanted. It's not my system, dog. It's not. I'm not that smart. Right.
Gotcha.
What I am smart enough to do is to surround myself with amazing and great people that teach me systems that work, and then I R&D it, rip off and deploy. Go out and master what they have, implement it, and then get that disseminated to our team and to our folks that they can leverage it and go to another level of success.
Gotcha. Rip off and deploy. It's the first time I heard that.
Yeah, R&D it, man. Here's the deal, and I joke with people all the time. It's like there's no secret sauce in real estate.
Right.
What we want to achieve has been done before we got here, and there's people that are doing it at a high level. Why not learn from them, implement what you know works, and then level up on it after you've implemented it verbatim? Because people like to tweak the recipe all the time, and I tell the agents that come aboard, it's like baking versus cooking. Right? When you're cooking, you can mix different spices and you can try different stuff. By the way, I love to cook, so that's why I use that analogy. You can mix different spices and you can do different things and you can experiment and it can still come out good. When you're baking, like baking soda, flour, all this are the exact measurements. You mess around and experiment with that and you will not be dealing with a cake. Like you're gonna be dealing with something else that ain't, that your family's gonna be clowning you about. But real estate very much is like baking. There's ingredients that you need to have, fundamentals that need to be there, that you need to embrace and get to mastery on to have a successful career.
Gotcha. How much of a derailment are people? How much of tweaking the system do you think it affects people derailing their success?
Oh, a ton. I think that the second somebody says, "Oh, that's not me," red flag number one. Uh-oh. And Diana said, now in joking, I said that to Diana when I first came aboard. I was like, yeah, these scripts are kind of corny. It's not really me. She's like, well, when's the last time you sold 250 homes? I was like, well, I never have. I'm brand new. You already knew that. She's like, exactly. So these scripts, these systems sold 250 homes. So let's be glad they're not you because you never sold 250 homes, which is your goal. So
Gotcha.
you can be you or you can have your goal. Which one do you want?
Gotcha. And I think I think that has a lot to do with the brokerage that you join. Because just looking at social media, you're starting to see more and more uh, individuals open brokerages, and they haven't been licensed long.
And that's the scary thing. And you wish that, kind of like with even with teams, to be honest with you, I think there should be curriculum that you've got a performance level you've got to hit, and the curriculum that you have to go through in order to start a team. Because you want these people are putting their lives in your hand. They're putting their well-being and their futures in your hand. So you want somebody that's been there, done that, and that can show you a pathway to do it. And the next stage would be going to open a brokerage. But you see a lot of agents that are single agents, but they have team behind their name, or they have X, Y, and Z and associates or whatever it is, and they've never led anyone. And it's just them. And then you do see, because I've had 18 years of experience, and I was terrified opening up this brokerage. Terrified, like, am I going to do it right? Am I going to have the right culture? Am I going to be able to still lead people to where they want to get to? Am I still going to be able to do that and still be the dad that I want to be? And it took a lot of soul searching and a lot of prayer, a year's worth, before I agreed to finally do it.
Right. That's where it comes back to that barrier of entry into our that easy barrier of entry to get into real estate. You really don't have to have just got to pass the test. And sometimes it takes a while to pass the test, but just to pass it, and then you're looking, so many places out here now where you can pay what $250, $300 a transaction.
Yeah.
And so then you're getting a larger piece of the pie.
But a larger piece of zero is still zero.
You've been listening to my podcast, man.
And you think about, and you hear different numbers at this stage. It used to be like 70%, and now it's upwards of 80 something percent of people fail out in their first few years of real estate. And then people wonder why. It's because the barrier to entry is so low. And then you get people that are getting into it because they want to be entrepreneurs, and in their head, entrepreneur equates to freedom of schedule, but you have to earn that freedom, right? You have to get your business going to a certain degree so that you can buy leverage. And when you get leverage in place, then you get the freedoms that go with that leverage, because you can go out and do different things, or you have the opportunity to go out and do different things. In a perfect world, leverage would just be freeing you up to do more of the 20% items. So you're right, absolutely. The barrier to entry is very, very, very low, and the fallout rate is very, very, very high. And it's one of those things where you don't realize that who you're associating with in terms of the brokerage you join, the people you align yourself with, have so much of an effect on your success.
Got you. Another thing is when I hear agents speak about getting educated, they're typically referring to CE classes.
Mm-hmm.
While CE classes are needed, how important is it getting out into a real estate conference around real performers, not just a class of 10 to 15 people, like real?
I have to be there.
Yep. People that are coming and spending their money because they want to grow.
Yeah. I think it's huge. I mean, I probably overindulge in those things in terms of, because I'm an education junkie. Like I probably take it to the extreme. But I do believe you rise or fall with the conversations that you have, and you're not going to rise to the level of those elite performers and elite people if you're not at the conferences and you're not interacting and you're not, engaging with those people, right? If you're engaging with the same 4 people every day and they're all at the same level, you can pretty much rest assured that all of y'all will always be at the same level. I hear stuff all the time, and I'm in rooms that I have not earned the right to be in some cases, and yet because those people want to give back so much, I get invited in there, and I learn things that are life altering, that change the trajectory of not just me personally, but this brokerage, our team, and even my family. And I would never be privy to those if I just went to the think about that. CEs are the bare minimum that you need to get just to keep your license. They say nothing about your thirst for knowledge, self-improvement, or anything like that.
That's true. I
mean, how would you think if your doctor said, well, I went and he was about to perform open heart or some serious surgery on you, and he's like, "Yo, I got my CEs, so we should be good to go." Right? Think about that.
Yeah, I'd be getting up. I was like, yeah, Doc, I'm gonna have to I like with that SpongeBob thing, I'm gonna have to head out.
Yeah, yeah. Or even not even that serious, like even your lawyer, like or something like that. They're like, you know, I got the minimum. I was, I keep the minimum, qualifications. It's all good.
It's crazy.
And then you go on trial for some stuff you didn't do that you're facing life with, and all of a sudden you got the guy that had the lowest barrier that met the lowest barrier to entry qualifications.
Yeah, that's scary. That's scary. So Emmett, this podcast is geared towards Black real estate professionals.
Okay,
That's who my target market is.
got it.
My Latinos, white brothers and sisters are listening. That's great. However, it's geared towards Black real estate professionals. You've performed at a high level for a while, and I
Okay.
know how you are. So it may not be the level that you want, but a lot of people would want your career, right? A lot
Gotcha.
of
Okay.
people would want your career. What are some things that you would tell them to hone in on, especially in this market, to make them better as a realtor and as a business owner? Just give them some tips, man, on how to progress in this business, because they may not be with a broker who has the heart of the people like yourself, right?
Mm.
Or has the heart of being a realtor. Like, you educate yourself constantly and you're constantly getting better. What can you give them some tips to help them, some takeaways?
Man, I don't know if I could say anything different than what you just said. Like, first off, they need to look around the rooms they're in, right? Are these people performing at the level that I want to be at? Are they living the life that I want to have? And if they're not, don't cut those people off, but start integrating more people that are into your world and your space. Secondly, well, even before that, sit down and what do you want your life to look like, your business to look like? Have a clear, true north of what you're trying to get to, and then start aligning with people that can help you get there. Um, and probably even, I don't know how to word this one, but don't go into relationships strictly seeking on what you can get out of it. Like, what are you bringing to the table? How can I give to this person, because the law of reciprocity kicks in where they will want to help you because they see you show up with a good heart and you want to help them. Secondly is stop making social media the Bible. Like the stuff you see, you're looking at people's highlight film and you're trying to compare yourself and base your life against somebody else's highlight reel. But many people aren't posting their down moments. They're not posting when they show up. Like I showed up at the office yesterday. I did not feel like prospecting, and it was like pulling teeth. And I'm so glad my team is here because they pulled me through it. And there's times where you have that interdependent success. So seek out people that you can be interdependent on, not dependent on. Become a person that of integrity, or not become, but stand in your integrity in terms of doing what you said you're going to do, when you said you're going to do it, and how you said you're going to do it, and invest in yourself.
That's awesome. Since you coach, is there a difference to you between a mentor and a coach?
Yeah, and I struggle with that because I've coached with Mike Ferry, Tom Ferry, the Workman, Club Wealth. I've coached through all these organizations trying to find this coach, the kind of coach I thought. And what I really found out is I was looking for mentors. I wanted somebody that had done it, had mastered it, that I can emulate their success in, right? In a particular vertical. And so I've deviated a lot from coaching in that I seek these 6 month mentors, right? Where I'm working with them and interacting with them for 6 months on a particular piece of my business or life that I need to make the most improvement on. And then I'm free to move on to the next one. Now I do have a coach, and the coach is kind of an umbrella person that talks to me about everything, and that he helps me see how the pieces fit together. from the different mentors and stuff like that. Because I might have a spiritual mentor, a financial mentor, and then I might have, my fitness mentor, and things like that. And my coach helps me assemble all the pieces so that it works in my life.
Got you. What books are you reading right now?
Ooh, The Gap in the Gain. It Takes What It Takes are the two that I'm recycling right now. Instead, I used to see how many. I used to be one of the guys that I would just brag about the number of books I read. Like, oh, I read 20 books this year. And then I started looking at what I had implemented from those books, and it wasn't very much. So now I picked 3 or 4 books, and I just read them over and over again during that 12-month period because they say you only get 10 to 20% out of it when you read it. So if I do it 3 or 4 times, I'm getting 100% out of it. Now it has to be worthwhile, right? And then there's, ones that I go back to, like Relentless by Tim Grover. Oh man, that book was, and then, most of the stuff by Darren Hardy is right up there. And if you haven't read the, How to Win Friends and Influence, Win and Influence, you should read that one first. So there's just some staples in there, but right now The Gap in the Gain has been huge for me, and It Takes What It Takes.
Cool. What's a recommendation for a good real estate book?
None of them. I'm kidding. So there's the Red Book, MRE agent is always, every real estate agent should have read that right while they were getting their license. And then Shift is another one. And where did it go? Oh, the million dollar real estate team is money too. So there's a few books out there that you could read. And the thing about it is a lot of them are just rehashing the stuff that you already know or that have been, from the Red Book. You see a lot of iterations of the Red Book from different people. So Gary Keller and Jadam really nailed it when they wrote that thing.
Wow. That's
But
awesome.
Shift, in this market, I would definitely have people reading Shift.
And that's
you should have already started reading it.
Who wrote? Is that Gary wrote that or Jay Papasan?
Well, I think that both. That was a joint thing as well. But absolutely, like if you want to survive this and come out thrive, or not survive, because I hate that word. If you want to thrive through this shift, read Shift.
Awesome. Well, Emmett, man, I appreciate your time, and I want to say it publicly. I appreciate whenever I ask you to do something, you do.
It takes me a bit of time, but I definitely get around to it.
Hey, you busy man. I understand. I appreciate it. I appreciate it.
I have a ton of respect for you, man, and especially what you're doing here. Love that you're pouring into the community, pouring into growing agents, and hopefully more of them listen to you. And there's going to be the pessimists and the naysayers and people that want to overly judge what you're doing or what you're saying, or even what we're doing and saying here today. But there will be some person out there that we're going to help. And that's what it's all about.
Yep, that's what it's all about, man. For anyone who wants to get in contact with you, how can they reach you? Besides at the gym at 4:30.
Yeah. You can hit me up at Lifetime at 4:30. You can work out with me, man. I'm always looking for people to push me. So yeah, there's that. Or iconiclivingrealestate.com. Check us out there, or Instagram, we're Iconic Living RE. Any of the social medias were Iconic Living RE. You can email me. Now I'm giving out my email address. I might regret this, but it's Emmett at iconiclivingrealestate.com. Hit me up over there, man. I'll get around. I'll get to responding to you because I take all those things, seriously, and I want to help as much as we can. And we do a lot of classes and stuff like that here at the brokerage that are free just to help. So.
Okay, awesome. And those links will be below this podcast. You've been listening to the Real Estate Proverbs podcast. Your host, Kevin Jefferson and Emmett Carr. Have a great day.
Shout out to the Qs.
Thank you for watching the Real Estate Proverbs podcast with Kevin Jefferson. Make sure you like this video and subscribe to the channel so you can be notified when the latest video drops.